a fission bomb primary to compress a thermonuclear secondary, as in most hydrogen bombs, and then uses energy from the resulting explosion to compress a much larger additional thermonuclear stage. There is evidence that the Tsar Bomba had several third stages rather than a single very large 1.32. RDS-202 was assembled on the principle of radiation implosion, which was previously tested during the creation of RDS-37. Since it used a much heavier secondary module than in the RDS-37, not one, but two primary modules, charges, located on two opposite sides of the secondary module, were used to compress it. 33, 34. This physical charging scheme was later used in the design of the N602, but the N602 thermonuclear charge itself, secondary module, was new. The RDS-202 thermonuclear charge was manufactured in 1956, and was planned for testing in 1957, but was not tested and put into storage. 2 years after the manufacture of the RDS-202 in July 1958, it was decided to remove it from storage, dismantle and use automation units and charge parts for experimental work. Order number 277 of the Ministry of Medium Machine Building dated the 23rd of May 1957. The CPSU Central Committee and the Council of Ministers of the USSR adopted a draft joint resolution on the 12th of March 1956 on the preparation and testing of ISW-202, which read adopt a draft resolution of the CPSU Central Committee and the USSR Council of Ministers and the preparation and testing of ISW-202. Paragraphs required for inclusion in the draft resolution Sad-Smiley A. The Ministry of Medium Engineering, Comrade Avrami Zavanyagin, and the Ministry of Defense of the USSR, Comrade Georgy Zhukov. At the end of the preparatory work for the test of ISW-202 to report to the CPSU Central Committee on the situation winking Sad-Smiley B. The Ministry of Medium Engineering, Comrade Zavanyagin, to solve the issue of introducing a special stage of protection into the design of ISW-202 to ensure disarming of product in the event of a failure of the parachute system, as well as their proposals reported to the CPSU Central Committee. Comrades Boris Vanikov and Kurchatov are assigned to edit the final version of this solution. Product 602. In 1960, KB11 began developing a thermonuclear device with a design capacity of 100 megatons of TNT, 418 petajoule. In February 1961, the leaders of KB11 sent a letter to the Central Committee of CPSU with the subject line "Some questions of the development of nuclear weapons and methods of their use," which, among other things, raised the question of the expediency of developing such a 100 device. On the 10th of July 1961, a discussion took place in the Central Committee of the CPSU, at which First Secretary Nikita Khrushchev supported the development and testing of this super-powerful bomb. 15. To speed up the work on Tsar Bomba, it was based on the 202 project, but was a new project, developed by a different group. In particular, in KB11, 6 casings for the Project 202 bomb already manufactured at NII 1011 and a set of equipment developed for the 202 project testing were used. 15. Tsar Bomba had a 3-stage design. The first stage is the necessary fission trigger. The second stage weighs were relatively small thermonuclear charges with a calculated contribution to the explosion of 1.5 mount. 6 pj, which were used for radiation implosion of the third stage, the main thermonuclear module located between them, and starting a thermonuclear reaction in it, contributing 50 mount of explosion energy. As a result of the thermonuclear reaction, Huge numbers of high-energy fast neutrons were formed in the main thermonuclear module, which, in turn, initiated the fast fission nuclear reaction in the nuclei of the surrounding uranium-238, which would have added another 50 amount of energy to the explosion, so that the estimated energy loss of Tsar Bomba was around 100 Mount. 35. The test of such a complete three-stage 100 Mount bomb was rejected due to the extremely high level of radioactive contamination that would be caused by the fission reaction of large quantities of uranium-238. 36. During the test, the bomb was used in a two-stage version. A D. Sakharov suggested using nuclear passive material instead of the uranium-238 in the secondary bomb module, which reduced the bomb's energy to 50 Mount, and, in addition to reducing the amount of radioactive fission products, avoided fireball's contact with the Earth's surface, thus eliminating radioactive contamination of the soil and the distribution of large amounts of fallout into the atmosphere. 15. Many technical innovations were applied in the design of Tsar Bomba. The thermonuclear charge was made according to the Biffala scheme. The radiation implosion of the main thermonuclear stage was carried out from two opposite sides. These secondary charges produced X-ray compression of the main thermonuclear charge. For this, the second stage was separated into two fusion charges which were placed in the front and rear parts of the bomb, for which a synchronous detonation was required with a differencing initiation of no more than 100 nanoseconds. To ensure synchronous detonation of charges with their desired accuracy, the sequencing unit of the detonation electronics was modified at KB25, now Federal State Unitary Enterprise NL-Dukhov All-Russian Scientific Research Institute of Automation, VNIA. 37. Development of the carrier aircraft. The initial three-stage design of Tsar Bomba was capable of yielding approximately 100 Mount through fast fission, 3,000 times the power of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, winking sad smiley 38. However, it was thought that this would have resulted in too much nuclear fallout, and the aircraft delivering the bomb would not have had enough time to escape the explosion. To limit the amount of fallout, the third stage and possibly the second stage had a lead tamper instead of the uranium-238 fusion tamper, which greatly amplifies the fusion reaction by fissioning uranium atoms with fast neutrons from the fusion reaction. This eliminated fast fission by fusion stage neutrons so that approximately 97% of the total yield resulted from thermonuclear fusion alone. As such, it was one of the cleanest nuclear bombs ever created, generating a very low amount of fallout relative to its yield. 39. There was a strong incentive for this modification, since most of the fallout from a test of the bomb would probably have descended on populated Soviet territory. 32. 40. The first studies on topic 242 began immediately. After Igor Kurchatov talked with Andrei Tupolev, then held in late 1954. Tupolev appointed his deputy for weapon systems, Alexander Nadashkevich, as the head of the topic. Subsequent analysis indicated that to carry such a heavy, concentrated load, the Tu-95 bomber carrying the Tsar Bomba needed to have its engines, bomb bay, suspension and release mechanisms extensively redesigned. The Tsar Bomba's dimensional and weight drawings were passed in the first half of 1955, together with its placement layout drawing. The Tsar Bomba's weight accounted for 15% of the weight of its Tu-95 carrier as expected. The carrier, aside from having its fuel tanks and bomb bay doors removed, had its BD-206 bomb holder replaced by a new, heavier beam type BD-7-95-242, or BD-242, holder attached directly to the longitudinal weight-bearing beams. The problem of how to release its bomb was also solved. The bomb holder would release all three of its locks in a synchronous fashion via electro-automatic mechanisms as required by safety protocols. A joint resolution of the CPSU Central Committee and the Council of Ministers, NR 357-28SS, was issued on the 17th of March, 1956, which mandated that OKB 156 begin conversion of a Tu-95 bomber into a high-yield nuclear bomb carrier. These works were carried out in the Gromov Flight Research Institute from May to September 1956. The converted bomber, designated the Tu-95V, was accepted for duty and was handed over for flight tests which, including a release of a mock-up super bomb, were conducted under the command of Colonel S.M. Kulikov until 1959, and passed without major issues. Despite the creation of the Tu-95V bomb carrier aircraft, the test of the Tsar bomber was postponed for political reasons, namely, Khrushchev's visit to the United States and a pause in the Cold War. The Tu-95 during this period was flown to Uzin, in today's Ukraine, and was used as a training aircraft, therefore, it was no longer listed as a combat aircraft. With the beginning of a new round of the Cold War in 1961, the test was resumed. The Tu-95V had all connectors in its automatic release mechanism replaced, the bomb bay doors removed and the aircraft itself covered with a special, reflective white paint. In late 1961, the aircraft was modified for testing Tsar bomber at the Kubashev Aircraft Plant. 15. Site of the detonation on Novaya Zemlya test. Nikita Khrushchev, the first secretary of the Communist Party, announced the upcoming tests of a 50-mount bomb in his opening report at the 22nd Congress of the Communist Party of Soviet Union on the 17th of October 1961. 41. Before the official announcement, in a casual conversation, he told an American politician about the bomb, and this information was published on the 8th of September, 1961, in the New York Times. 40. The Tsar bomber was tested on 30 October 1961. The Tupolev Tu-95V aircraft number 5800302 laden with the bomb took off from the Olenia airfield and flew to State Test Site number 6 of the USSR Ministry of Defense located on Novaya Zemlya. 41, with a crew of 9. Sad Smiley. 15, Test Pilot Major Andrei Yegrovich Dernovtsev. Lead Navigator of Tests Major Ivan Nikiforovich Klishk. Second Pilot Captain Mikhail Konstantinovich Kondratenko. Navigator Operator of the Radar Lieutenant Anatoly Sergeyevich Bobakov. Radar Operator Captain Alexander Filipovich Prokopenko. Flight Engineer Captain Grigory Mikhailovich Yevtushenko. Radio Operator Lieutenant Mikhail Petrovich Mashkin. Gunner Radio Operator Captain Vyacheslav Mikhailovich Snetkov. Gunner Radio Operator Corporal Vasily Yakovlevich Bolotov. The test was also attended by the Tupolev Tu-16 laboratory aircraft, No. 3709, equipped for monitoring the tests and its crew. Sad Smiley. 15, leading test pilot Lieutenant Colonel Vladimir Fyodorovich Martynenko. Second pilot Senior Lieutenant Vladimir Ivanovich Mukhanov. Leading navigator Major Semyon Artemyevich Grigoryuk. Navigator Operator of the Radar Major Vasily Timofeyevich Muslanov. Gunner Radio Operator Senior Sergeant Mikhail Emlyanovich Shumilov. Both aircraft were painted with special reflective paint to minimize heat damage. Despite this, Dernovtsev and his crew were given only a 50% chance of surviving the test. 42, 43, the bomb, weighing 27 tons, 30 short tons, was so large, 8 m, 26 feet, long by 2.1 m, 6 feet 11 in diameter, that the Tu-95V had to have its bomb bay doors and fuselage fuel tanks removed. 2, 43, The bomb was attached to an 800 kilogram, 1,800 pound, 1,600 square meter, 17,000 square feet, parachute, which gave release and observer planes time to fly about 45 kilometers, 28 mi, away from ground zero, giving them a 50% chance of survival. 38. The bomb was released 2 hours after takeoff from a height of 10,500 m, 34,449 feet, on a test target